Today we're going to talk about RegPack and basically how they've grown to serve some major institutions like Harvard and NASA. Just to kick it off, can you tell me what inspired you to join RegPack back in its early days?
Yeah, first of all, I appreciate you having me on today, Jean-Michel. I kind of just fell into it, actually. My wife got a position in San Francisco. I used to live in Chicago to work in the wine industry. So I left my banking job and optimistically going to California, seeing what I can make of myself. And, doing some job hunting, I stumbled onto RegPack, which was a very small group of individuals. And I came into their account management, business development operation. So it was still kind of in a beta mode. And I really saw the value that it was bringing to the market from the get-go, right? This is back in 2012 when people were onboarding SaaS products to manage their business and starting working with clients right away. And I've always been in that mode where I like to do things that not necessarily change lives, but at least help people in whether their daily lives or their business. So with my business background, managing client relations, this was just an amazing product that I really wanted to be part of.
How did you, on the early stages when you joined, how did you identify that initial target market to go after?
The whole concept of RegPack is that we are a platform for organizations that have products and services, right? They manage products and services. So when we first created the platform, it was for a few close friends of the owner who were doing trips to Israel. They were doing educational tourism. The whole idea was to allow people to have the power to construct processes that work for their business. Okay. And it didn't just fit with them. It was a product now that can be used in different verticals and made it very dynamic, which is why now we focus on organizations who manage educational tourism, courses, camps, events, and a lot of in between, where our system is very flexible. And that's always been the whole concept of RegPack, which is giving people the power, the tools to be more efficient, right? Not just for a part of their organization, but for all of the programs and the revenue that they're managing within their organization. So then the marketing comes behind that, right? Like, how do you get in front of these people in spaces that are looking for this type of solution, that are looking to manage their revenue more effectively?
And I see the site, you guys say 32% revenue increase for clients. Can you share, how did you develop that as a value proposition, and how do you guys achieve that?
Yeah, I would say there's two different ways, right? One is we have a lot of tools that can be used to flow people through the process that our clients create in order to convert them to an actual paid applicant, let's say. For example, we can embed ourselves right onto your website. Okay, so you can start managing your marketing, your brand better. We allow people to offer things like a wait list or abandoned carts. So even if they initiated an interaction with the organization, you know who they are and you can retarget them. We have things like a cart timer where, hey, you add something to your cart, you got 15 minutes or 79 minutes, whatever you decide to expedite that, right? And then using our conditional logic engine, we are always displaying the right forms or right options to purchase, discounts, payment plans, in order to just make it easy. And if they don't convert, give you an opportunity as an organization to target those individuals, right? So there's a lot of tools that allow a client to open up their enrollment and then see success right away. And then the other part is more of a human element, which is our staff, right? So every client goes through an onboarding stage where they will be paired with a project manager in their industry. And that way we can understand their goals, we can understand their targets, revenue targets, and then we build out the solution, we configure the solution in a way that functions for them.
So they don't have to be an expert in your software. You've got somebody from the same domain who can help guide them and set it up properly.
And, that's a big thing with technology these days, right? Think about like Photoshop. Everybody wants to use it, but can you actually use it well? A lot of people get frustrated with it. Same thing with RegPack. It's very configurable, and there's a lot of best practices that we can bring to an organization, not just through the tools, but what have worked with other organizations, right? That we bring in, and this is something that has really allowed not just an individual to become empowered and feel safe and special with their tool, but then allows them to use it for other business cases, or even tell other people about it as well.
Going back to that 32%, what it sounded like to me is once a customer comes in to whoever's using RegPack, you're basically working with them to figure out what are all those extra nudges and touch points that are going to help you monetize better and make sure that people kind of go through the whole flow. Is that the right way to understand it?
It is, right? You have to have the right infrastructure in place, right, for all the wheels and the pipes to work correctly. And we have the building block for that. We just kind of make sure they're being used correctly.
How are you currently reaching new verticals beyond those initial ones like camps and courses now?
So we're always looking to see, actually my CRM logs, our team logs, like what other technologies are they using within the system or within their operations. And that way we can find ways to address those needs. For example, somebody can say, hey, I'm managing a very large program, but then I also have a Google Doc that I do my staff application with. Hey, do you know we can actually do that? And you can say the same tools, right? Or somebody taking a PayPal donation on their website. Hey, did you know that you actually use your package with RegPack to create a process to do a recurring billing through the same system? So again, this is part of the beauty of RegPack, and why I've always loved being here is that there's opportunities where we can make things more efficient for them. And then we, as a marketing on the side, decide, hey, who are these individuals? Is there value in this space? Let's, create some campaigns to educate our clients so they can use us in this capacity, but also to draw in individuals in those spaces. In our marketing, we can talk about that later in a couple of different ways.
What channels are performing the best right now?
5 years ago, I could have told you PPC was probably
Yeah. Those were the days. They're gone.
Where, you put some ads out there, some blog posts, people are looking. Right now, actually, our outbound efforts are working better when it comes to volume and in deal sizes, right? Because people have become, the market is very saturated, so they get overwhelmed. And it's also become complacent. A lot of complacency in people, even though it's not perfect, it works, and they're not seeking, right? As
it's not painful enough.
Yeah. So we need to get in front of people, right? There's ways that we can, whether it's going to an event or looking at different ways that we can find people in the industry, and then us getting in front of them through our outbound efforts so that we can spark an interest and entice that conversation, and then see if it's worth the opportunity, right, to continue that conversation. So our BDR team has been really awesome at gearing, and there's a lot of volume that we have to do, but those people who are coming forward, right, are coming more with an open mind and are willing to give us a chance. I would say it's a combination. It's always a combination, right, of PPC, outbound. So doing a lot of blog posting on there, and then the personal, right, being present in circles. I go to a lot of conferences throughout the year.
You just being where they are is hard to beat. Okay, that makes sense. So it sounds like you're doing, outbound and traditional BDRs, and you're also trying to it sounds like, look at what your customers are using, see which tools they're using, and that's going to help you figure out, well, who else uses those tools? Where do you need to be? Makes sense.
It's also a lot of personalization with those, right? Like when we talk about outbound, it's not the same messaging across the same individuals, and I've actually been doing a lot of research on this recently because there's a whole hot word of like AI, right? Like how can they use AI to personalize the message a lot better on there? And this is something that we've always done from the get-go, because our system can be used in so many different ways, but sometimes the messaging needs to be directed toward that individual who's running just events, or that individual who's just running, a camp. And sometimes you have to have a blend message, right, in order for it to resonate.
And how would you say that the overall registration software landscape has evolved in the last, since you've joined? It's been a while, right? So what have you seen change in the whole software registration landscape?
It's not just the registration, right? A big focus of what we do is payment management, revenue management, because obviously there's more competitors than there was 10 years ago, and people either kind of stick to their niche or they try to do it all, right? And we're kind of in the middle ground where through our integrations, if we can do it within house, we can create a path to accomplish that. But it's evolved in that we're giving people more tools within the system to accomplish, right, the various problems that an organization is trying to address. And that's actually how we drive our development, right, where we don't just build things to build things and hope people can use them, right? We build things based on how the landscape is growing, what our clients are asking for, and to continue empowering them in what they do. And part of what most of the clients do with us is collect payments, and how we can make that process. So the registration process, yes, has grown, but how people manage payments, revenue, right? The buy now, pay later, for example, through our auto bill mechanism, we can allow, we use a little bit of AI for this to create a incentive to people to enroll to a program and not have to pay $3,000, $9,000 for it right away. Right, we allow them to use our payment mechanism to create plans that work for their individuals, and then to automate that entire process so that the individual behind the scenes doesn't have to manage this themselves, and the individuals, the technology is doing it for them, one, to help them grow the revenue, but also reduce the time that they're spending in performing those actions.
If you look back, how would you say your sales process has evolved since you started, and you've also expanded into different verticals? How has it evolved over the years?
More consultative, I would say. I've always been a big believer of qualify, right? Like we only want to spend our time to the individuals that not that we can sell to, but we can be a good partner with. This is something that we've seen the sales cycles get a little bit longer in our space, okay? Because of, again, the options that are available there. And then trying to really understand the organization and the motivation for change, and to see if it's something that we can address. But it's become, like I said, more consultative in that we want to get to know the organization. We want to understand their priorities and then see if we can align with that. So I'm really big on that from the beginning, but I've continued to evolve that to make sure that, hey, when our BDR is qualifying somebody, right, they're bringing us really good opportunities. When the salesperson is talking to an organization, that they continue that, because it's not just the technology that they're buying, they're buying the organization, right? And that individual needs to be felt that they're understood and not sold to, right? And that way we can not just bring in a good client, but reduce our churn by them leaving in 3 months, 12 months because of misconceptions.
That makes a lot of sense, especially if you're assigning staff to stay with the client, like you described, that method. So definitely makes sense. So when you look at how you're going to bring in net new customers and get more attention and basically drive more marketing for RegPack, what's in your plans for 2025?
2025, the first part is volume, making sure that we're casting a pretty wide net, that we're using personalization, that we're using the opportunities in our circles, like I said, going to events or current clients so that they can understand where they are, and then giving them an understanding that where they are right now isn't necessarily always where they need to be, to rethink how their operations function when it comes to the time that they're spending on them and the space that they're living in. We're being really creative in our messaging, in both getting people to recognize this and to rethink, right, how their billing functions, how their time is being spent within the organization, and not in a way that replaces them, but that subsidizes, right, what they're trying to accomplish in the industry. But it starts by getting in front of the right people, okay, finding those people, and then messaging correctly from the beginning.
From what I heard, it sounds like a very heavy emphasis on outbound. Is RegPack still pursuing, acquiring customers via paid social ads, or do the unit economics don't make sense anymore?
It's still something that I don't say rely on, but it's still part of our channels, right? Our marketing channels, because when people are looking and they find us, my team is converting like 30% of those conversations. So it works when it works, right? We have a really great product. We do a lot of good services for an organization. So when they're finding us, when they're looking for a solution like us, they're gonna find us, they're gonna convert to an opportunity. It's just trying to decide how much to spend in that space, because some people are bidding some pretty high amounts to get that PPC, right? And it's really easy to blow through your budgets, right? Just as isolating that.
And especially because, oftentimes the customer doesn't pay off right away. So there's a limit, just a cash flow limit to how many customers you can buy in this way, right?
Yeah. And it depends also on the timing of it, right? Like if we're trying to do ads for people running for events, I may not be doing it right in the middle of May or June because the activity is already happening. But I may be doing it right early on in the year as you're preparing for the fall. Same thing if I'm working with the camp space. Other ones that are more cyclical, like courses or educational tourism on there. So we're always turning levers on and off, right, to make sure we're spending it correctly. And, Google Ads being the same thing. So that's still part of the arsenal of marketing tools that we have, just because there is that audience that, there's a turnover or there's a change or there's an immediate need. We have to be present in those circles.
And are you guys primarily doing, paid search, or do you also do paid social, those kind of ads as well?
We keep going back to them. It's been really hard to see high success, whether it's LinkedIn or Facebook, even Instagram on there. I would say those are probably be the ones that we have the least success with. My team would tell you, hey, LinkedIn leads, they're just not going anywhere sometimes on there. And we're still trying to put our finger on it, honestly. I see myself getting ads from LinkedIn people all the time. And even myself, I just kind of, sometimes don't react to them. A lot of noise in those spaces, but it's something that people are there. There's a lot of activity. This is why we keep trying to figure out how to make them work. And maybe there is a better solution than what I've.
Yeah, a lot of SaaS companies struggle to make those work, and can be quite expensive. That's why I was curious, because I'm seeing this trend that of people pushing more and more towards outbound, just because the unit economics work out much better.
B2B, right? We're selling to businesses, individuals, right, are part of those businesses on there. But, we have methods to be able to attain individuals who work in certain organizations, certain spaces, right, that we can then target, as opposed to just the general population and hoping that they become good leads. And we don't just want to have just leads, just have leads, right? They cost money. They cost resources.
They could definitely bad leads take resources.
To be fueling them all day, we have enough noise for it where it comes from, but it's still something that we're going to find how to crack it. We want to be present, right? So our marketing team does do a lot of posts and activity in those channels, because when people are looking for validation, that's where they're going, to validate an individual or an organization.
Well, what do you see as, the most exciting for you in the future of RegPack?
One, it's continuing to focus on the emphasis of billing and how we can manage and be the revenue management system for an organization. Registration is part of that. We're going to be focusing on our billing tools, the billing partners that we have, making sure our clients are getting the best pricing possible, and then how they can use that infrastructure across their organization. We're also doing a big emphasis on integrations, right? That's something that we do already, but we're expanding on that, because the feature death cycle is real, right? Like we can keep building and building internally ourselves. It becomes this Goliath that you have to maintain, or
maybe customers are already mostly using another tool.
Yes. So if we can leverage these partnerships through our integrations, right, we can get people most of what they need in order to function, and then we can provide them paths to accomplish those other small elements through these integrations that we have. And this is where like our enterprise clients are asking us to do. I want you to focus on these important aspects of our organization and do them well, which we do. And then we have other tools, for example, Salesforce, right? Being the CRM, we being the partner of Salesforce. And that way we can, target larger accounts, be able to be a good partner in what we do for the organization. And this is going to be something that we'll be focusing on.
Well, this has been fantastic, Edgar. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I appreciate the time.